Hi everyone. I want to give a how are ya to Henry Porter. He suggested and asked if I'd be okay with doing a review of Jack White's album called No Name. First, I want to say that I had heard about this album. I don't know if all of my info is totally correct, but I heard that it originally was something that people could buy if they were buying a certain thing or whatever, and when they bought whatever it is that they bought, they got this CD that came in a total blank cover with no name of anything on it, but people recognized right away it was Jack White, and so it became known as No Name. And then later it got on streaming, which is where I heard it, and it was called No Name. So now sometimes different artists do those types of maybe promotional gimmicks where they're like, this is only meant for such and such, and then later it becomes a wanted item, and then it becomes more available when other people want it. I'm not necessarily saying that's bad. I'm thinking that sometimes artists need to do a tease where if they want something to sell better, they have to do something to it to make it sell. Now, I know of the White Stripes. I might have heard a half song by them. I did hear a whole album by the Raconteurs. So I have heard stuff he is on. And of his solo work, I'd say I heard 1/4 of a song, possibly. Mostly, I might have heard little bits here and there of White Stripes or his solo work. But he was never an artist who I considered to be someone I was going to delve into. It's kind of like if I were at a library and I saw an author whose books I wanted to check out, and I saw that his work was next to another author who had a name somewhat similar, but maybe was in a genre that wasn't my type of genre to read, I might see that other name but not want to delve into his work, and instead into the work of the guy who I wanted to read. In this case, Jack White fits into the category of the genre next to the genre that I was into. And in the few cases where I delved into that genre, his name was like next to the guy whose work I might slightly delve into. So, yeah, in a short answer, he came on the scene a little too new for me. He came on the scene maybe when I was in my maybe late 20s, late 30s. Time for me and my age is kind of, I remember doing stuff before I did other stuff, even though the first thing I did was a year after the thing I did second. So, I'm kind of like, time is kind of confusing for me somewhat because it's all in a big blur as far as when I did stuff and when I remembered doing it. But for me, I would say probably in the 2000s, a little more is when I first heard of the White Stripes and Jack White. And they were a part of that kind of thing that I was not totally into, even though they kind of were. I mean, to me, I sometimes have a bias towards the particular groups I like, and it takes a lot for me to get into people who I didn't listen to back in the day. Another example would be Richard Ashcroft, who I've tried to get into his work. I'm not saying Jack White sounds like him, but to my stubborn bias, he might as well, because they're all from that same time period. Anyway, I figured I'd listen to this album because Henry Porter is a nice guy, and I appreciate his comments and stuff. And so I decided to listen to it. And I am surprised in a couple of ways. I'm surprised. Well, I'll let you know as I go through the songs. And I only wrote very minimal notes, but I can try to elaborate as I go through them, because I listened to it last night after I was also doing other stuff, and it was kind of late, and I was just in the mood to have a whole bunch of music impacted on me. Anyway, first song, Old Scratch Blues. I thought it was a really great heavy-hitting first song. It was my kind of rock. I liked the chord changes. I liked the simple but direct, great way he did the song. Kind of reminded me of the kind of stuff I do. And then Bless Yourself, I also thought that was good. It was a little bit weird chord-wise, but in a way also like how I do stuff. And I did like it. I thought this is someone I can listen to if I want to learn how to do that kind of thing. And then That's How I'm Feeling. This is also a great song. And it had like a back and forth between the quiet and the heavy, which I thought worked well. I thought it was an interesting, like, oh, okay, oh, okay, oh, okay, oh, okay, kind of like that. It was really cool. And then it's Rough on Rats, If You're Asking. This was interesting, psychedelic tinged blues. I thought it was pretty good. The lyrics might have been a little odd, but hey, I do odd lyrics. So, right on, Jack. And then Archbishop Harold Holmes. This was interesting. It was a kind of like combination of heavy rock with rap. but with a retro feel to it, which I thought was not done often, but worked. And I liked it. And then Bombing Out, okay, this is the first filler song to me. I didn't care much for it. It's like, you know, when you keep listening to something and as the album progresses, people keep dancing to it because the beat is still the same and they go, but the songs are starting to diminish in quality ever so slowly, kind of like if you've ever had a bottle of vodka where when it's halfway through, they keep watering it down more and more and more and more, so that as you keep drinking, you're like, this is less interesting, less intoxicating than the last sip. And it keeps getting that way. That's how this album is from this point on going forward, mostly. It started out really good with the first 5 songs, and then it didn't do that. So first, I'm very surprised, to let you know what I'm thinking, that there were 5 songs in a row by Jack White that I really liked. And then I was surprised that there were many filler songs after. But I'll continue and let you know what I think of each song. Okay, What's the Rumpus? This was another filler song I didn't care much for. It's kind of like, okay, now we're going to be doing these type of songs. How can we make them good? Well, you can't, but you can at least try. And that's what he's doing, is he's trying. And then Tonight was a long time ago. Okay, this is him saying, okay, we're still in filler mode. I said slightly better than the last 2 songs, but ultimately another filler tune. It's like he's still not drinking a new bottle of vodka. It's like he's still on the watered down bottle, but it's like he actually put in a little more regular vodka in the bottle. So it's a little better. And then Underground. This song was a little bit more than filler and kind of strangely trippy, but still not quite up there with the best song. So it's like he might have put in even a little more, like a teaspoon more of vodka in that drink. And it got a little better, but it's still on that not quite as great song kick that he's doing with most of the rest of these. But then Number One with a Bullet, okay, this was even more of a filler tune, and I definitely didn't care for it much. This might be the worst song on the album. I'm not saying beat-wise, because when people are hypnotized to listening to that stuff, they go, duh, 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 duh. And then you can put any song to that beat. You could put Purina Cat Chow theme song on it. Or you can put on White Christmas to that beat. It wouldn't work, but you could do it and people would go. So, yeah, that's sort of what's happening here, is he's now doing anything to just keep the party moving, the beat going, even though the songs are diminishing in quality. And then for Morning at Midnight, this one is more like it and back to one of the better tunes. So maybe he woke up and he realized, hey, I'm doing non-quality stuff. Okay, I'll take a sniff of cocaine. That way, I will get back on track. I don't know whether he drinks or uses cocaine. I did both. Cocaine once, and drinking much more than once. But anyway, it's a cool song. And then for Missionary, this one was okay. It was better than Filler, but only just so. Okay, so this is like, oh, okay, the audience is still grooving to it. Maybe we can siphon off some of the vodka in that watered down bottle and put in a little more water, but not too much. They still need to party a little bit. And then the last song, Terminal Arch Enemy Endling. I thought this was okay, more or less filler, but not truly bad. It was like, a lot of times they put as the last song something that's a little bit longer than they need to, and a little bit slower than they need to, because if you've got the stamina to listen to the album this far, even though it wasn't a long album, because most of the songs are quite short, they're like, okay, let's give them maybe a 20-minute song. But in this case, it was only a 4-minute song. But still, with the draggy beat, it actually sounded more like a 3-minute song. It was fine. I didn't dislike it, but I do think that they should have maybe put it before the song before it, so that the other song, the song called Missionary, would have been last. Even though it's not the best song on the album, but it at least had a little more of a last song vibe in a way, to me. But anyway, thank you, Henry. Will I check out more Jack White in the future? I can't say either way. I don't really want to, but if someone makes me listen to another of their albums, in which case I'll probably not be very happy to have someone insist on it, but I won't say I will completely disown his music. I will say there were probably 6 songs on this album which to me are the best 6 songs that he has ever done. And that I don't need to hear any more Jack White in order to know that. But maybe on my own I might hear the other Raconteurs album that I didn't hear, just to find out. I'm not really willing to listen to a whole White Stripes album, but you never know. Anyway, thank you again, Henry, and I hope all of you who are listening to this review enjoy what I said. Even if you don't agree with my opinions, you can at least enjoy the way I reviewed it. Okay, take care. Bye.